The referee ruins WrestleMania as Rhea and Io go one-on-one. American Made gets 2 cracks at titles, and CM Punk and Seth Rollins' hatred boils over. So, just keep watching. Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, and this is WWE Raw from Buffalo, where we're always just keeping it real. So, let's get to our matches and just keep wondering if we can make a belt that fits, as Gunther takes a freakingly good effort by Otis, but eventually he has a few too many clotheslines and a powerbomb to win a non-title match. So Gunther is the ones, and he called Otis a freak and a clown, saying that you can't find a belt that fits. But Gunther had several boots to the noggin and a bunch of chops, as he eventually goes to 3-0 in one-on-one matches. So Otis is the 2s, as he tried to get some retribution for Tozawa from last week, and he grabbed Gunther through the ropes to hit a fall-away slam onto the floor, and he also fired up after several chops, so he was able to chop back a few times, and he also was able to hit a caterpillar, but he does take another loss, and he's 0-1 in 2025. And more importantly, he still has no televised main roster one-on-one wins since November 7th of 2022. But after the match, Gunther wasn't done yet, as he locked in a sleeper on Otis, so Tozawa tried at least to help him out by jumping on Gunther's back, but Gunther flung him away and then powerbombed Tozawa on top of Otis. And at that point, Jey Uso did run out to save the Alpha Academy yet again, and he was able to hit Gunther with a spear, but his troubles weren't over, as A-Town Down Under came out for revenge from last week. But unfortunately for them, their team move went awry, as Jey was able to take out both members, including a spear on Waller, which will set up a match between Waller and Jey next week on Raw. And then, of course, after that, Gunther came right back out and choked Jey to put him asleep in the middle of the ring. So we do have to give Gunther a fine for starting this post-match attack. And this was a surprisingly good effort from Otis, and we need more of this from him. I'm just not sure we're going to get it. But for today, this match gets an okay. Up second, we just keep locking that knee back into place, as Lyra Valkyria shakes off an ankle lock and a German suplex to counter Ivy with a backbreaker and a Nightwing to retain the women's IC title. So Lyra is the ones, as she came out fired up with a dropkick after Ivy's post-match attack last week. And unfortunately, she had to mostly just survive this one, as she got an injured left knee throughout this match. However, she found her strength somehow on her second Nightwing attempt to get the win for her second title defense in 2 weeks, and she improves to 3-1 in one-on-one matches. So Ivy is the 2s, and she didn't deserve this opportunity with 4 straight singles losses. But she got that chance, and so she came close by working Lyra's left knee, starting with a dragon corkscrew, and she also had an impressive counter of a tornado DDT into a vertical suplex. But perhaps her ankle lock actually helped Lyra's knee, as she was able to lift Ivy up for that Nightwing when she was unable to do so earlier in the match. So for Ivy, she goes to 0-2 in one-on-one matches. Well, this was actually a strong calculating match for Ivy, and a gutsy effort by Lyra to get it done, so we give this match an okay. Up third, we just keep pondering if the air is thinner in Buffalo, as we had a lot of big men making big moves through the air, but it was a missed Brutus ball that led straight to a War Machine, so the War Raiders retain the World Tag Team Championships. So the War Raiders are the ones, as we had a crushing knee by Eric leading to a couple of War Raider team moves, but it was Ivar who missed a moonsault, but Eric forced Brutus to miss last. So they get their third title defense and go to 3-0 in traditional tags. And that means the Creeds are the 2s, and they showed off so much athleticism here with a 450 splash by Brutus, but admittedly he didn't quite get all of that, and maybe even hurt his own knees on that attempt. So the match carried on, and Julius hit a nice superplex, and then an absolutely picture-perfect shooting star press, but Brutus missed both a moonsault and then a Brutus ball. That cost them in the end, so they go to 0-2 in traditional tags with both losses being to the War Raiders in those title matches. So the Creeds just couldn't connect when it mattered most here, but still a good high-flying effort surprisingly here. So this match also gets an okay. And in our main event, we just keep ruining WrestleMania, ref, as the referee fails to do her job by continuing a match after Bianca Belair laid hands on Rhea Ripley not one, not two, but three separate times. That allowed Io Sky just enough time to recover and reverse an avalanche riptide into a Hurricane Rana and an over the moonsault to become a two-time women's champion. So yeah, Io is the ones, and make no mistake, Io came prepared and even one-upped Rhea for much of this match and even showed off a couple of her damage control teammates' moves with an insane elbow and an Oscar lock, but it was a nice sunset flip powerbomb into the barricade that really stood out. But after barely making it back into the ring at a 9 count, she was aided by Rhea and Bianca's pushing match, and also the ref failing to do her job, so Io gets this win, stopping a 3-match losing streak. And going to 1-1 in one-on-one matches, and she is going to WrestleMania as your women's world champion. So Rhea is the twos, and she got an early advantage by swinging Io twice into the side of the ring and then into a suplex, and she somehow survived an over the moonsault by taking it to her back instead of to her stomach, and she was able to get her foot on the rope. And she almost got the count out victory by slamming Io face first onto both the apron and then onto the announce table, but she got caught paying just too much attention to Bianca by arguing with her for cheering for Io to get back into the ring. So Rhea did push Bianca first, but they went back and forth a few times, so of course Rhea doesn't deserve to lose the title after Bianca got physical. But unfortunately for her, the ref simply did not do her job, so Rhea ends with just one successful title defense, and she drops to 2-1 in one-on-one matches in 2025, and more importantly for her, her WrestleMania plans are completely dashed. Well, we can't give any STFs here because Rhea started the pushing contest, so Bianca gets a pass here, but we will note that Bianca said before the match that she didn't want to talk about either Jade or Naomi until she spoke to both of them. But for the two combatants, this was a championship-worthy match until the ref was a complete amateur, wiping away everything good that was going on inside the ring, so we have no choice but to drop it all the way to a not okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for Raw, where CM Punk started the show by calling out The Rock, John Cena, and Seth Rollins, calling Rock and Cena bald frauds, and that he now can see through Cena. But he wanted to turn his undivided attention to Seth Rollins, maybe perhaps because he actually showed up, saying that he wanted to tell Becky to come get his man before he puts Rollins in a wheelchair. So of course Rollins came right on out after hearing that, but it was Punk who ran right after Rollins and started swinging, so we have to give Punk the fine for instigating here. But of course, the brawl was on for several minutes with several security guards and WWE officials trying and failing to break it up several times. But we do have to note that Rollins punched and threw several officials, so he has to get a 2-week suspension before they were finally separated. But even then, they were not done, because later in the show, Rollins was being interviewed by Jackie Rudman on his way out of the arena, but those two saw each other again and went at it yet again before they were quickly broken up. So after we were returning from commercial break, Adam Pearce walked out of the arena with Rollins saying that Punk is his hill that he would die on, so Pearce agreed to give them one more match at Madison Square Garden on Raw next week. Well, This was simply fire between these two men, showing all of their hatred, so no choice but to give it a double okay. Kathy Kelly interviewed AJ Styles, saying that he did not see John Cena selling out, but Karrion Kross hugged him from behind, saying that he didn't think that it was that surprising. But Styles said that he is not Cena and said that he would call out Logan Paul next week on Raw. So Kross laughed at this, saying that that was very easy, and Kross is simply getting way too good at this, so we have to give it an okay. Ludwig Kaiser inexplicably got a microphone in the middle of the ring, and it must be very nice to be 2-13 in your last 15 matches and still get to say whatever you want on live TV. So he did say that he took back the attention away from Penta, and this was the attention that he instead has deserved all along. So fortunately for us, Penta interrupted and easily took out Kaiser, ending it with a Kope, Konilo. And yes, this was still an absolutely horrible call by Adam Pearce, so we have no choice but to give it a double not okay. We finally saw Gable's search for how to beat a luchador, and he eventually found an old man with a box, saying that he needs to become Lucha. So Gable said he was willing to do anything, including handing over $400 for a box in which he did not know anything that was inside. So the old man said, "You now wield power beyond your understanding, and I wish I could pay someone that little for power beyond my understanding." But the video cut out before we saw what indeed Gable pulled from the box. And I guess we have more questions than we have answers right here. And no, I didn't sign up for a luchador mystery, so this gets a not okay. And speaking of luchadors, all 4 members of the LWO called out the New Day, saying that the New Day couldn't get the job done last week, so the LWO is stronger than ever. And with Rey Mysterio returning, he said he and Dragon Lee will fight the New Day next week in a tornado tag match. After Finn Balor looked distraught in the Judgment Day's clubhouse, despite Liv and Raquel winning those tag team titles last week, he focused on their losses instead of the big win. But later, he called out Braun Breaker from the middle of the ring, and he laid his trap perfectly, with Breaker coming down from the top of the stands right down to ringside. But as usual for the Judgment Day, their execution left something to be desired, as Carlito tried to jump Breaker, but Breaker simply threw him over the barricade. And then Dom tried to jump off of the barricade, but Breaker easily took care of him too, so Breaker turned his attention back to Balor, and he did a good job with him, but right as he was about to land a running spear, Dom pulled Balor out of the ring, so Breaker at least got a consolation prize as he hit a running spear on Carlito for good measure. All I ever see on the internet is Liv Dom this, Liv Dom that. But I think it's good for the men to work together, where we had Finn and Dom working together today with Dom saving Finn. So don't you think we need a little bit more Finn-Dom in our lives? I think it makes a lot of sense to have more Finn-Dom on TV each week. So let's get some more Finn-Dom in our lives. But anyways, as usual, the Judgment Day men just can't do anything right. So we will give this a double not okay. And lastly, we again only got 4 matches on WWE Raw because we had just way too many recaps from the Elimination Chamber, particularly the end of the show with John Cena. And I think we got it, guys. After the first 5 times you showed it, we simply did not need to go back to that well anymore. But at least, among the many recaps, Michael Cole at least got in there that Sami Zayn will be out indefinitely. Because duh, of course he would be, because Kevin Owens easily took care of him. But maybe Zayn wouldn't be coming back at all if Randy Orton didn't return. Well, nonetheless, I'm not sure how we couldn't get one more match in here instead of having all of these recaps. So just a terrible, terrible job by all involved. So this too gets a double not okay. We had 3 championship matches and 1 new champion, but it was tainted by some truly awful refereeing, so the women's division appears to be ruined for WrestleMania. But since I didn't have a chamber grade recap show, be sure to check out the SportsZu's predictions for the chamber video right here, as I'm sure he's pretty pleased with himself. But with just 4 matches, yet again, and a true travesty of a women's title match, we have no choice but to give this episode of Raw a not okay.